Good afternoon, everyone. Don't you like that dramatic reveal? I'm afraid I don't look any better with my mask off than I do with it on. Good afternoon, and I hope perhaps good morning and good evening to some folks who are joining us remotely. My name is Kabir Nath. I'm the president and CEO of Otsuka's North American pharmaceutical business, and I also had the pleasure to serve on the board of the Sozosei Foundation, which, as you know, is Otsuka's charitable foundation funded today by our commercial business here. It's a real pleasure to welcome so many people, both in person and online, to this, the second annual summit on the decriminalization of mental illness, the second summit that Sozosei has hosted. I'm thrilled that so many of you are here, fueled by the same passion that we have, both at the company and the foundation, to find ways to stop our jails and prisons being the primary place of the diagnosis and treatment of mental illness. I know that over the next few days, you'll hear some of the statistics again, and not just statistics, you'll hear individual stories, harrowing individual stories. And I know we all share the belief that it's a fundamental stain on this society that we continue to use our jails and prisons as that primary place of diagnosis and treatment for serious mental illness. Everyone at Otsuka and the foundation is fueled by the belief that we must realize the value in every mind, and that mental illness is not a crime. These 3 days are about creativity and collaboration, and I think it's particularly appropriate, therefore, we're meeting in the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. And for those of you who haven't been here, it's a wonderful opportunity to learn about this amazing pair of buildings and some of the wonderful things they have here. There's also a chance to go to the Barnes Foundation around the corner. But more than that, creativity and collaboration are woven through the fabric of the next couple of days in terms of arts and music. And as I say, this is about creation, collaboration, working together to share ideas, to find new ideas. And as a Japanese company, it's particularly appropriate that there's a Pechakucha session tomorrow. As you know, that originated in Japan some 20 years ago, where we'll again hear really inspiring ideas of new ways to look at this huge problem. And at Otsuka, one of our beliefs is truly that we are better together. So this is about working together, learning from each other, learning from each other's stories, and together we will find a way to create a world where mental illness is not a crime. With that, it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Bill Carson, who is the chairman of the board of the Sozosei Foundation. Bill.
Thank you, Kabir, and thanks everybody for joining us. I spent the large share of my career at Otsuka. I was the president and CEO for 10 years, and I was responsible for the global clinical development of Otsuka's compounds. As I approached my retirement, I had some thoughts about what I could do and what Otsuka could do. And fortunately, Kabir and I, one of the last trips, went to Japan, and we were able to secure buy-in and funding for this foundation. And Otsuka graciously asked me to be the chair of the board of the foundation. I'm also chair of the co-chair for Kabir's organization as well. It's nice to see everybody here. I retired January 1st, 2020. And my biggest concern at that point in time was I lived in Princeton for 17 years and I was moving. And I was quite concerned that I would have to move in a blizzard. Unfortunately, I had to move in a pandemic. I couldn't imagine how difficult and challenging the world would be for moving into my retirement in such a ongoing, disastrous situation. But there were always positives in all of those kinds of situations. One positive is I went from travel every month to no travel for months and months and months, like all of you. So it was a great way to start up our activities, start this foundation, hire an executive director virtually, onboard an executive director virtually, fund disaster relief, as well as start thinking about how do we attack mental illness and the use of jails and prisons that is routine. And as Kabir said, decriminalization of mental illness is the focus of the Sozosei Foundation. We also believe that mental illness is not a crime. I'm a physician, I'm a psychiatrist by training, and I worked for years taking care of my part of psychiatry was inpatient adult psychiatry. I never worked in any situation that didn't have a locked door, that didn't have seclusion rooms, that didn't have the sickest of patients. That's where I worked. And I loved my career in industry, bringing new medicines for the treatment of people with mental illness and supporting the overall mental health of individuals. And I think that that's the basis and the spirit of what we're trying to do with the Sozosei Foundation. I'm glad that we're here in person and hybrid because it gives us an opportunity to see each other, to interact, to talk about what we're doing, and we're going to challenge you. If you were at the summit last year, we challenged everybody, and one of the things is Sozosei is a convening of people working in this area. We are a clearinghouse for ideas that we encourage people to talk about what they're doing, and we also want them to listen to what others are doing and try to think about how it's pertinent to your situation, your community, your family member. I have a few seconds and I want to give you the story of where this really got on my spirit. I was a Saturday and I got a phone call from someone I went to high school with. He's in, and he said, my son, 18 years old, is in an emergency room. And the psychiatry resident said, the only option is for us to send him to jail. And I said, that is not what you're supposed to do. I said, you go tomorrow morning and you tell the doctor, you're responsible for my child, and I'm going to hold you to that, and really you need to take care of him. As a psychiatrist, I was really horrified by that situation. And the piece that really bothered me the most was the family was replete with psychiatric disorders, with multiple people being diagnosed, multiple people being treated. But the psychiatry resident on that afternoon and evening never asked any questions. Didn't know the family history, didn't know the child's history, no aspect of what you should do in that situation. And I said, as I sit here, I have more summers behind me than summers in front of me. I'm going to focus my life and my passion on making sure that we decriminalize mental illness and that mental illness is not a crime. And unfortunately, most people do not have someone like me to call on a Friday when your child's in the emergency room. We need to make sure that families and people taking care of folks, and all of us are, that they have the understanding they need treatment and care, not prisons and jails. With that, I'd like to bring up Melissa, who is our head of the Sozosei Foundation. And Melissa has been just a stalwart person in the fight, and she brings all of her philanthropic experience to what we're doing at the Sozosei Foundation, and we're very proud to have her and share her and her insights about what we're doing. So.
Thank you so much. I'll remove my mask a bit less dramatically, though. Thank you for setting that high bar, Kabir. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second annual Summit to Decriminalize Mental Illness. As Bill said, my name is Melissa Beck, and it is absolutely my honor to be the executive director of the foundation. As Bill mentioned, Sozosei means creativity in Japanese, and we do try to bring that value to everything we do, whether we're convening or grant making or having conversations with all of you. We're in this building quite purposefully, and I hope you'll enjoy the art all around you. And tonight, when we have dinner at the Barnes Foundation, I hope you'll take full care to really explore that wonderful collection. So I'm going to run us through some housekeeping, both for our in-person participants as well as for our friends who are participating virtually. So first, let's take a moment. I hope everyone has had an opportunity to download the Sozosei Summit app. This is important because it's going to keep you up to date if we have any changes. But it's also important because tomorrow, when we do the Pechakucha presentations, all of you, virtually and in person, will have the opportunity to vote on what you think is the most innovative and scalable idea that's presented. And the winner of that crowdsourced vote will receive a $25,000 grant from the foundation. So we look forward to everyone's participation. So again, if you haven't done so already, you can just search for C-Vent, C like cookie, vent like express yourself, and I'm sure you'll find the app. You search in it for Sozosei. Now, I want to take a minute and introduce you to our student journalists who are going to be covering the summit. They come to us from our grantee partner, Urban Health Media Project. They're going to have a special room set up. It's the Sculpture Center across from where we just enjoyed that wonderful lunch. They may want to interview you, learn about your work, and I hope you'll be generous with your time and your ideas to support them on their journey. In addition, also on the second floor, we have our partners from Mural Arts Philadelphia. You might see them as you roam through the city. Their wonderful murals are everywhere, and they're all about social justice and making social change, just like we are. So we thought they'd be a marvelous partner for us. So together, if you wish, you can participate in the creation of the Sozosei Summit mural, which is really all about 988 and decriminalizing mental illness. That's up to you, of course. If you're virtual, don't feel left out. Simply take a piece of paper, 5 by 5, draw whatever you wish, symbols, illustrations, 988, just the numbers is fine, and that will be integrated into the summit under the leadership of our wonderful muralist, Nicole Medina, and her colleague, Nazir. You'll meet them during this meeting, and also they'll be with us at dinner for those of us who are in attendance. You'll hear music during breaks, which is curated from our partner Sound Mind Live. The purpose of Sound Mind is to use the power of music to destigmatize mental illness. And so I hope you'll enjoy the diversity of that playlist like we do. Also here today are our colleagues from RAND. They're here in person, but they're also here represented in a QR code. And you can use that code to start answering a survey that they're working on to help us nationally with the implementation of 988. So please don't hesitate to scan that. You'll see that at the lunch tables. You'll have it in your program. And of course, for you at home, it's now on your screen. Now I want to welcome Julia. Will you take a moment, Julia, to stand up? Julia is with us once again. You might remember her from last year's summit. She is our talented visual note taker. Thank you so much again, Julia, and welcome back to the Sozosei Summit. Now, for virtual friends, if you are burning with a question, please don't hold back. Immediately, if you have a question, type it in and hit that submit button so that it can get into the queue for review for our different panelists and keynote speakers. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't remind everyone to please continue the conversation with us across our social media channels. We really appreciate those comments that everyone makes and leaves for us. I would be remiss if I also didn't mention how happy I am to be here today. Of course, there's a lot of work that goes into putting on an event like this, and I want to take a minute to thank everyone, all of the amazing Sozosei Summit team members, and of course, my marvelous board, Bill and Kabir and Mary. Michael, if you'll just raise your hand, Mary, so you'll hear from Mary tomorrow. It's certainly been a collaborative effort, like everything that we do. We're here for these 3 days to hopefully leave everyone feeling well-informed, engaged, and most importantly for us, that you leave really feeling inspired. We're going to have lots of opportunities to learn. As I mentioned, there'll be opportunities to create. On day 3, we'll have opportunities to even imagine a different future. That all being said, I think we can agree that we live in perilous times, turbulent times. The recent report from the Surgeon General underscores once again the mental health emergency that we're in as a nation. The continued pain and anguish of COVID hits hard upon our shores. And of course, we still live in a world where mental illness is a crime, where we routinely arrest people, give them their first diagnosis in jail and prison, and then treat them for their disease there, and then don't do much when they come out of those facilities. But none of that can slow us down. Instead, it really needs to galvanize us. It needs to propel us forward. It needs to encourage us really daily to find additional reserves of energy, to embrace all of the opportunities we see before us to act, to hold on to the gift of data so that we can use it to find the pathway out of the sometimes really confusing forest. But together, I feel confident that we can decriminalize mental illness. It's not going to happen overnight, and it will take several years, but we are in this work together. And I know that we can all imagine a world where mental illness is not a crime. And I know that we feel that many solutions are clear to us. Many are just on the horizon. Our will to act is palpable. It's palpable online. It's palpable in this room. And so I'm ready with all of you to lock arms and join together with the force that we can to move forward. We're a strong and mighty community, and I am certain that we will succeed to decriminalize mental illness.